You wouldn't think that the recent arrest of the Guatemalan president will have any effect on the U.S. politics, but you would be wrong because immigration is something that happens from the origin, from the countries where these migrants start their journey up north. So, Nick, it's very important that we report on this, on the story of Otto Pérez Molina, this Guatemalan president, no more. He was in the middle, or he still is in the middle of this big scandal of corruption over a multi-million-dollar customs fraud that he was the ringleader. The people of Guatemala have been protesting for over 5 months for his resignation and for his facing the authority on this issue. Finally, he gave in his resignation, which is very surprising in itself because he's a military guy. He's a guy from the military. He was the head of a very feared intelligence division from the military. So he could very easily take the route, like many other Latin American leaders, of repression over the people. But this is what is important. We are seeing the change on governance in Latin America, which is very important because most of the migrants that come to the United States are moving away from violence and corruptions of the governments and the effects that this has in all the population.
Right, they're not all economic migrants, Donald Trump. but anyways, you mentioned in the beginning, how does this affect the U.S.? And it does, indirectly. I mean, surprisingly, looking at you again, Donald Trump, a lot of the immigrants that are coming from the Americas aren't from Mexico. The majority are from all of the other Central American. They all go through Mexico, but they're not all, I mean, the majority is not from Mexican citizens themselves. Yeah. And that's interesting. And I mean, we talk about it a lot, the detention camps along our borders, the children, the women with their children, sometimes unaccompanied children, they're usually from Central America. And they do go through Mexico.
And the journey, it's very dangerous. There's this train that goes throughout all Mexico.
Right.
They call it the Beast, La Bestia. And it's a very dangerous journey because it's controlled by Central American gangs. That it's another example of that connection that it's very long in between Central America and the United States because many of them, they migrate, they get detained, they go to detention centers in the U.S., they get into gangs, the MS-13, the different Maras Salvatruchas flavors, and then they go back deported, and then they form cells that keep sending people. So it's a very complex situation, but the fact that we see that there's the Congress of Guatemala decided to take the immunity away from the president for him to go get arrested, spend the night in jail. He yesterday spent 6 hours in front of the media and the prosecutors listening to tapes incriminating him in this fraud. That's unheard of. Other countries like Mexico, they are saying, why are we not doing this against Peña Nieto? Why are we not putting this guy that has increasingly shown acts of corruption? Why are we not doing that for our country? And I think it's critical that the U.S. looks into Latin America and how to benefit from the way these new democracies are kicking out corruption from their system, because till that does not happen, the well-being of the citizens will be a challenge, and they will like a better place to live, and they will try to migrate north.
The fact that they can do this is very telling of change in the region. I mean, we're talking about a time in the world when a lot of leaders do not want to step down. So I think this in itself is very telling of how things are changing. To get back to the migrants for a second, I want to ask you a question. I want to know your opinion on something. You mentioned how the gangs get them through to across the borders, and they kind of take them, right, like coyotes or whatever.
Yeah.
A lot of the time on TV, on radio, when we talk about, let's say, the migrant crisis in Europe, you always hear about, they call them human traffickers, these people that take them out, smugglers. It's usually bad words that are used. They're taking money from these people. These people know what they're getting into. Do you think I guess in this case, because it's gang members, but do you think, these people are actually helping them get to these places? I know in unsafe conditions, but these people know what they're getting into. It's their only option, but do you think they should be called smugglers and human traffickers? I usually associate that with drugs or kidnapping.
It's a complex issue because since it's an illegal action in itself, the smugglers or the traffickers, sometimes they do not follow through on the promises that they gave to these migrants on the place of origin. Sometimes they come in and they say, don't worry, we're just going to drive you up the border. Or most of the time the deals happen where they make themselves go on their own to the border and they do the crossing with a coyote. Normally it's in the border areas where this happens the most. Here's the thing, they promise things and sometimes they kidnap migrants at the half of the way and ask for more money because they know they might be part of the process is to have a contact person, and they know they have someone in the States, so they can kidnap them for money. So they do, although the migrants know what they're getting into, is not by no means a safe journey, and by no means is like like a tour. Or where you pay, take me to the States, and you give you your tickets and your buffet and your, it's not like that at all. But again, also in the broader picture of immigration, let's not forget that the immigrants that cross the border is the least amount of migrants, illegal migrants. It's well proven that most of the people that are illegal in this country, they come on visas and they overstay, no matter of their place of origin, like North America or Asia or different places around the world. So. Although it's a matter of much importance for the politics, at the same time, we need to keep the facts straight. But we want to know, where do you stand on this issue? Please share your thoughts below in the comments. And if you haven't, please subscribe to the Lib TV too.